Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another day in my life. If you are watching this, grab a warm drink. Sit down with me, because today did not go as planned, not at all. You know how every single day starts with a routine. You wake up, you tell yourself, today is going to be productive. Today, I will finish everything on my to-do list. I will eat clean. I will stay calm. I will not get stressed over little things. Well, life had completely different plans for me today. Let us start from the very beginning. The alarm went off at 6 in the morning. Like always, I hit snooze. Just 5 more minutes, I told myself. 5 minutes turned into 20 minutes. My eyes opened, and the sunlight was already hitting the curtains. I lay there in bed for a minute, just staring at the ceiling. Sometimes you wake up, and you instantly feel like the energy of the day is a bit weird. You cannot explain it. It is just a feeling in your chest. I got out of bed. My feet touched the cold floor. I walked straight into the bathroom, washed my face, brushed my teeth, and looked in the mirror. I looked tired, dark circles under my eyes, hair going in every direction. But that is fine. This is real life. No filters, no fake perfection, just me trying to wake my brain up. I walked into the kitchen. The house was completely quiet. That is usually my favorite part of the day. The silence before everything gets loud. I turned on the stove. I put the kettle on. I was looking forward to my morning coffee. For me, that first cup is not just a drink. It is a ritual. It is the boundary between sleep and survival. I opened the fridge to get some milk, and right there, the first disaster of the day happened. The fridge door opened, and a terrible smell hit my face. I stood there frozen. I looked at the little light inside the fridge. It was off. The motor was completely silent. The fridge had stopped working overnight. I touched the milk carton. It was warm. I touched the leftover food from yesterday. Warm. Everything inside was ruined. All the groceries I bought just 2 days ago, gone. I just stood there with the fridge door wide open, holding a warm carton of milk, feeling my entire morning plan crumble into dust. I took a deep breath. Okay, do not panic, I told myself. It is just an appliance. Things break. It happens. But deep down, I was already annoyed. Who wants to deal with a broken refrigerator at 6:30 in the morning? No milk meant no proper coffee. So, I had to settle for plain black coffee. It tasted bitter, very bitter, just like my mood at that moment. I sat at my small kitchen table, sipping the coffee, staring at the dead fridge. I pulled out my phone. I searched for local repair services. I called 3 different numbers. Nobody answered because it was too early, obviously. So I made a plan. I would clean out the spoiled food first. Then I would head out to a nearby cafe to get some breakfast and do some work on my laptop. After that, I would call the technician again. Simple enough, right? Cleaning the fridge took me almost 40 minutes. I had to throw away 2 large bags of groceries. Every item I tossed into the trash bag felt like throwing money straight into the bin. Cheese, yogurt, vegetables, meat, everything went into the trash. I wiped down every single shelf with disinfectant. My hands smelled like lemon cleaner and sour milk. Not the morning aesthetic I was hoping for. By the time I finished, it was 8 in the morning. I quickly took a shower. I threw on a simple gray t-shirt and some comfortable jeans. I grabbed my backpack, packed my laptop, my charger, my hard drive, and my headphones. I locked the front door, checked it twice, and walked down the stairs. The weather outside was strange. The sky was gray, heavy with clouds, but the air felt humid and sticky. The street was already busy. Cars honking, people rushing to work, shopkeepers pulling up their metal shutters. The noise hit me instantly. Sometimes when your morning starts badly, every single loud sound feels twice as loud. I walked down the road toward my favorite small coffee shop. It is a quiet little place tucked between 2 tall buildings. I usually go there when I need to focus. The bell above the door jingled as I walked in. The smell of freshly ground roasted beans hit me immediately, and for a second my mood lifted. I walked up to the counter. The barista smiled at me. I ordered a large iced latte and a toasted cheese sandwich. I pulled out my wallet to pay. I opened my wallet. No credit cards. No debit cards. Nothing. I stared at the empty card slots. Then I remembered, last night I used my card to buy something online while sitting on the sofa. I left the cards on the coffee table next to my bed. I did not put them back into my wallet. My face went red. I looked at the barista. I smiled awkwardly. I said, "Give me a second, let me pay with my phone." I unlocked my phone, opened my banking app, and tapped it against the card reader. Payment declined. I tried again. Declined. I checked my phone screen. No internet connection. The mobile network was acting up, completely unresponsive. I stood there, holding up the line behind me. An older man behind me sighed loudly and tapped his foot against the wooden floor. I felt so embarrassed. I looked at the barista and said, "I am so sorry. My connection is down and I forgot my physical wallet at home. I have to cancel the order." The barista was very kind. She said, "Do not worry about it. It happens to everyone." But the walk of shame out of that cafe felt endless. 10 steps felt like a mile. I stood on the sidewalk outside, hungry, no coffee, no groceries at home, a broken fridge waiting for me, and a dead mobile data signal. At that exact moment, a few drops of rain hit my forehead, then more drops. Within 30 seconds, the sky opened up, and it started pouring rain. I had no umbrella. Of course I did not. Why would I carry an umbrella on a day like this? I ran under the awning of a small local grocery store. 5 other people were standing there too, huddled together, watching the water flood the street. I was drenched. My shirt was sticking to my back. My hair was dripping water into my eyes. I looked down at my backpack, terrified that the rain might have leaked through to my laptop. I carefully unzipped the bag. Luckily, the inside was dry. My laptop was safe. At least one thing went right today. I stood under that small awning for almost 40 minutes. The rain would not stop. It was loud, hammering against the metal roof above us. The cars on the street were splashing muddy water onto the sidewalks. Nobody under the awning was talking. We were all just looking at our phones, waiting for the sky to clear. While standing there looking at the rain, I started laughing to myself. An older lady standing next to me looked at me like I was crazy. But honestly, what else could I do? Cry? Get angry? Break something? None of that would fix the fridge, dry my clothes, or bring me breakfast. Sometimes life throws so many silly little obstacles at you in a single morning that you just have to laugh at the absurdity of it all. Around 9:45, the heavy rain turned into a light drizzle. I decided to make a run for it. I sprinted through the wet streets, jumping over puddles, making my way back to my apartment. By the time I reached my front door, my shoes were completely soaked. They made that squishy, squeaky sound with every step. I walked inside, kicked my shoes off, and locked the door behind me. I changed into dry clothes, sweatpants, and an oversized hoodie. Much better. I grabbed my wallet from the coffee table, put my cards back where they belong. Then I sat on the floor, leaned my back against the sofa, and tried calling the repair service again. This time someone answered. A man with a deep, raspy voice. I explained the situation. Refrigerator dead, food spoiled, need help urgently. He listened patiently, then said, "I can send someone over, but the earliest slot is at 4 in the afternoon. 4 in the afternoon. That meant I had 6 hours to wait. 6 hours of sitting in the apartment with no fresh food and a dead appliance. I said yes. Any help was better than no help. Now, my stomach was growling loudly. It was past 10 in the morning, and I had eaten nothing since yesterday evening. I opened the kitchen pantry to see what dry food I had left. Instant noodles. 2 packets of spicy instant noodles. That was my only option. I boiled some water in a small pot, dropped the noodles in, added the seasoning packet. I did not have eggs, I did not have spring onions, I did not have any fancy toppings. Just plain, simple noodles in hot, spicy broth. I poured the noodles into a big bowl, took a pair of chopsticks, sat right on the living room rug. I took that first bite, and honestly, it tasted like the best meal I had ever eaten in my entire life. When you are starving and cold, even the cheapest packet of noodles feels like a luxury feast. I finished the entire bowl, drank the warm soup, and let out a long breath. My stomach was full, my body was warm. Things were starting to feel a little more manageable. Since I could not go out to the cafe, I decided to set up my workstation at home. I cleared off my small dining table, plugged in my laptop, put on my big noise-canceling headphones, turned on some lo-fi instrumental music. I had a lot of work to catch up on. Video editing, answering emails, planning the schedule for the coming week. The routine that I missed in the morning, I tried to rebuild right there at my kitchen table. For the next 3 hours, I was completely locked in. My fingers were moving across the keyboard, cutting clips, adjusting audio levels, color grading footage. When you get into that flow state, the world around you just fades away. You forget about the rain outside. You forget about the broken fridge. You just create. Around 2 in the afternoon, my eyes started burning from staring at the screen for too long. I took off my headphones. The room was dead silent again. The rain had completely stopped. Through the window, I could see patches of blue sky breaking through the gray clouds. The sunlight was reflecting off the wet roads outside. I stood up, stretched my arms above my head, and heard my back pop. That classic sitting too long posture. I walked over to the window and opened it wide. The fresh, cool air rushed into the room. It smelled like wet earth and rain. That is one of my favorite smells in the world. It instantly calms your mind. I leaned on the windowsill, watching people down below. A delivery driver on a scooter was carefully navigating around a puddle. A stray cat was sitting on top of a car hood, grooming its paws in the sun. A mother was walking with her little boy, who was wearing bright yellow rain boots and deliberately jumping into every single puddle he could find. His mother was scolding him, but she was smiling at the same time. Looking at them made me realize something. We spend so much time stressing about our schedules, our routines, our little daily plans. We get so frustrated when things do not go exactly the way we wrote them down in our notebooks. But life is not a calendar. Life is messy. Life is full of broken fridges, forgotten wallets, and sudden rainstorms. And that is okay. The interruptions are part of the story. Without them, every day would be identical. Every vlog would look the exact same. At 3:45, my doorbell rang. I jumped up. The technician was early. I opened the door. A tall man in a blue uniform, carrying a heavy metal toolbox, was standing there. He had a pencil behind his ear and a friendly smile. He walked into the kitchen, took one look at the fridge, pulled it away from the wall, and started unscrewing the back panel. He had all kinds of tools, meters, wires, and spare parts. I stood by the kitchen counter, watching him work. He tested a few wires